Hello everyone, this is Lokesh Mathur. In the previous video, based on the placement drive of Accenture, I already gave you the pattern and the process applied in the drive. In this video, we'll be exclusively talking about aptitude exam. And like in the last video, I also told you in the aptitude exam, it comprises of quantitative aptitude and logical reasoning. Though there is a third section of online exam which deals with verbal ability as well, but in this video, we will be talking only about online exam based on quantitative aptitude and reasoning section. So let us talk about these two segments. The first segment, that is the quant section, in this video we'll be talking about some of the questions which will be part of the aptitude exam in the Accenture drive. So the first question on your screen says the average age of a man and his son is 28 years. The ratio of their ages is 3:1 respectively. What is the man's age? Now please understand, like I told you earlier, quant section of the exam here is of easy or moderate level. Therefore, these questions will be relatively easy, but still we need to solve them as quickly as possible. So like the question on your screen says, the age of the man and the son is in the ratio 3:1. But then we have to find out the age of man. So what we do, we will quickly do it in this way. 3 times of the total will be man's age, and total is calculated by using the first statement, which says the average age of a man and a son is 28. That means if the average age of two people is 28, so their total age would be 28 multiplied by 2, that is 56. And hence by cancelling this I will be getting 14, which is 14 threes are 42 years. So by this I can easily get the age of the man, and my answer becomes option number D. So such a easy question, it justifies that the quant section of aptitude exam in Accenture is relatively easy. Let's take some more questions. So a cyclic quadrilateral ABCD is such that AB is equal to BC, AD is equal to DC, and AC is perpendicular to BD. And it's also given that angle CAD is equal to theta. So we need to find out what is angle ABC. Now let me draw a cyclic quadrilateral first of all. So for the things to be simple, I draw a quadrilateral like this, and I label it A, B, C and D. Now first of all we need to know what is a cyclic quadrilateral. Cyclic quadrilateral has a property that the opposite angles has a sum which is equal to 180 degree. So every opposite angle, be it A and C, so angle A plus angle C is equal to 180 degree. Similarly, angle D plus angle B is equal to 180 degree. So this is the property of a cyclic quadrilateral. Now it is given that over here AB is equal to BC, that's my first condition here, and also AD is equal to DC, that's the second condition here. And it's given that AC is perpendicular to BD. So let me draw AC. That means I'm connecting both the vertices, that is AC and BD. And it's given that they are perpendicular to each other. And we know that angle CAD, which is this smaller angle, is given as theta. And the question is talking about what is angle ABC, that is the bigger angle of the cyclic quadrilateral, which means they are talking about this angle. So let's see how can we calculate this. Since if I talk about triangle ADC, I know that AD is equal to DC, which means it becomes an isosceles triangle. So if this angle is theta, obviously this angle also becomes theta. Number one. Similarly, in triangle ABC, this angle and this angle also becomes equal, because again it's a in the quadrilateral, this is an isosceles triangle, that is AB is equal to BC. Also, since it's a quadrilateral and that's a cyclic quadrilateral, I would say angle ADC plus angle ABC is equal to 180 degree. But I know that angle ADC can be written as, in the triangle ADC, angle ADC can be written as 180 minus twice of theta, because these are the two angles of the triangle. So this is how it is possible, that is angle ABC, now it is 180 degree. So now the only variable angle we have in this equation is angle ABC. So by rearranging the values I can find that out. Angle ABC is equal to 180 minus 180 plus twice of theta, which comes out to be twice of theta as the answer, and that's my option number C. So as I told you in the previous video as well, we will be getting geometry based questions in the quant section of Accenture Drive. So we have to be prepared for it. Let's talk about the next question. Now here comes something from trigonometry. If tan theta plus cot theta is equal to 2, what is the value of tan square theta plus cot square theta? Now please understand, though it looks a question of trigonometry, it is not. How come? Let's see the first equation. So my equation over here is tan theta plus cot theta is equal to 2. Now if I square both the sides, that is tan theta plus cot theta square is equal to 2 square, I will be getting tan square theta plus cot square theta plus twice of tan theta multiplied by cot theta, that is a square plus b square plus 2ab. Now out of it I know that according to trigonometric ratios tan theta is equal to 1 by cot theta. So by that I can cancel these two values, and therefore I will be left with tan square theta plus cot square theta plus 2 is equal to 4, because that's the square of 2. So which means my tan square theta plus cot square theta in this question comes out to be 4 minus 2, and that is 2. Such a easy question, and therefore my answer becomes option number A. Let's look at some more questions very quickly. How many integers are there between 300 and 600? Now here come arithmetic progression into picture, because the question is saying the number should also be divisible by 9. In number system, we already know that the divisibility rule for 9 says that the sum of the digits should be divisible by 9. For a number to be divisible by 9, sum of the digits should be divisible by 9. So when I start with 300, I will certainly see that 306 gives me a sum of digits that is 9. So that's my first number which will be divisible by 9. Similarly, when I keep on moving ahead, my next number around 600 should be 603, because again this is a multiple of 9. The sum of these digits is a multiple of 9. But since we are talking about numbers between 300 and 600, so if I subtract 9 from 603, I will be getting 594. So ultimately this becomes my first number, this becomes my last number, and I have to find out how many such numbers are there. So let's see how we do it. So according to arithmetic progression, the nth term, the formula for nth term is a plus n minus 1 times of the difference, where a is the first term. So let's put the values. Now nth term over here is 594. The first term here is 306 plus n minus 1 times of d, that is 9, because in every two consecutive numbers which are divisible by 9, the difference would be 9. So when I rearrange the things, 594 minus 306, it gives me 288 is equal to 9 times of n minus 1, where n minus 1 becomes 288 divided by 9. Upon cancellation, 9 threes are 27, 9 twos are 18. So my value of n becomes 32 plus 1, and that is 33. So 33 such numbers exist between 300 and 600 which are divisible by 9. Now like you can see here, it's a compilation of various subtopics. Fine. Let's talk about another question quickly. What will be the ratio of petrol and kerosene in the final solution formed by mixing petrol and kerosene that are present in three identical vessels in the ratio 4:1, 5:2, and 6:1? That means there are three vessels, let's say A, B, and C. So they contain petrol and kerosene in the ratio 4:1, 5:2, and 6:1. Now here one important word is identical vessels. What do we mean by identical vessels? That means the volume of each container would be equal. So let me assume the volume such that it should be equal. So in solving this question, what we do, since I know that the total of 4 plus 1 is 5, the total of 5 plus 2 is 7, and the total of 6 plus 1 is 7. So my assumption of volume should be such that it should be a multiple of 5 and 7 both. So if I take the LCM, I assume 35 liters of this, 35 liters of the second, and 35 liters of the third container is taken. Now out of 35 liters, petrol and kerosene are in the ratio 4:1. So 4 by 5 times of 35 is petrol, whereas 1 by 5 times of 35 is kerosene. Similarly, in the second container, it is in the ratio 5:2. So therefore, 5 by 7 times of 35, whereas 2 by 7 times of 35 is kerosene. In the third container, it is in the ratio 6:1. That means 6 by 7 times of 35 liters and 1 by 7 times of 35 liters is the ratio. Now see, we can easily figure out the data because everything will be a multiple now. So 7 times, this gives me 5 times, 5 times upon cancellation. Similarly here also it will be 5 times upon cancellation. So petrol here would be 28, kerosene would be 7. Petrol here would be 25, kerosene would be 10. Petrol here would be 30 liters and kerosene would be 5 liters. So what is the quantity of petrol? 28 plus 25 plus 30, whereas quantity of kerosene is 7 plus 10 plus 5. So I would be getting 22 as the total over here and 83 as the total over here. So what is the ratio? It should be 83:22, and that's option number B. So this is a very common question that comes from the ratio and proportion segment, or you can say even allegations and mixtures. Let's talk about another question. The respective ratios of radii of two right circular cylinders is 2:5, and the respective ratios of heights is 3:1. That means there are right circular cylinders. What do we mean by right circular cylinders? In a right circular cylinder, the angle between the height and the radius, is 90 degree. So this is what we call as right circular cylinders. Now when we are talking about volume, so volume of a cylinder is equal to volume of a cylinder is known as pi r square h. Now over here it is given that there are two cylinders A and B, in which the first situation radius is in the ratio 2:5, whereas heights are in the ratio 3:1. And we have to find out the ratio of their volumes. So V1 upon V2, or I should say VA upon VB, that's volume of A is to volume of B, will be equal to pi times of R1 square H1 upon pi times of R2 square upon H2, out of which pi gets cancelled. Now understand, R1 and R2 are in the ratio 2:5. So that will become 2:5, but since there is a square, they go with square, whereas H1 and H2 are in the ratio 3:1. So upon solving, I get 4 multiplied by 3, and similarly over here 25 multiplied by 1. So my values are 12 is to 25. So straight away my answer is option number A. Let's look at the next question. Now Raj gives 30% of his salary to mother. Now if you look at the question, it is talking about percentage, but at the same time there is a number also given. So we can't assume his salary is 100. So whatever his salary was, he gave 30% of his salary to his mother. Then 40% of the remaining salary he invests in an insurance scheme and PPF in the ratio 4 is to 3. So what is the remaining number now? It is 70% of his salary. But the question says 40% of the remaining. That means if we calculate 40% of 70%, it will be 28% of his total salary. So he invests 28% of his total salary into insurance and PPF. And the ratio of this investment is 4 is to 3, which means 4 by 7 of 28% is in insurance and 3 by 7, that is total of 28, is in PPF, which upon solving gives me 16% in insurance and similarly 12% in PPF. So we are just using the information given so far. And the next line says, and the remaining he keeps in the bank. That means 30%, 28%, so 58% is already gone, and remaining, that is 42%, he keeps in the bank. Now let's talk about the next line. If the difference between the amount he gives to his mother and that he invests in insurance is 8400, so the amount given to mother is 30%, the amount invested in insurance is 16%, so difference between them, that is 30% minus 16% of total salary, is given as 8400. And then we have to find out what is his salary. So 30 minus 16 gives me 12%, 12%, therefore denominator has 100, of total is equal to 8400. Or in fact not 12, this should be 14. That's my bad. 30 minus 16, 14. So when we cancel this 14, we get 14 6 are 84. So therefore total salary of Raja becomes 60,000. That's my option number A as the answer. So such a easy question once again, because I told you quant section of Accenture will be talking about easy to moderate level of questions. Let's look at the next one. A, B, C, D are four consecutive odd numbers and their average is 42. Find the product of B and D. So let's suppose there are four numbers A, B, C, D. So my first number is A, and because we are talking about odd consecutive numbers, so it should be A plus 2, A plus 4 and A plus 6. And it's given that the average of these numbers, so average means the total, which is 4A plus 12 divided by the total quantity is 42, which means A plus 3 is 42, which gives me A as 39. So if A is 39, my next number definitely is 41, then 43, and then 45. Now the question is find out the product of B and D. That means 41 multiplied by 45. So upon calculation, I know that 45 multiplied by 4 is 1800 plus 45. That is 1845 becomes my answer to the question. Next question. A basket contains 3 blue. Okay, so let me put a basket like this. 3 blue, 5 black, and 3 red balls. Now 2 balls are drawn at random. So we are taking out 2 balls. What is the probability that one is a black and one is a red? So we know that the formula for probability is desired outcomes divided by total possible outcomes. That's also called as sample space. So over here, My total possible outcomes are out of 11 balls, and out of 11 I am selecting 2 balls. But in the desired situation I only need one black, that is out of 5 I need one black ball, and one red, that is out of 3 I need one red ball. And since there is a and in between, since we know wherever there is and in permutations and combinations and in probability, we replace it with multiplication sign. Wherever it is odd, we replace it with plus sign. So this is multiply. So upon solving this, I know that the formula for NCR is n factorial divided by n minus r factorial. So when I solve this value, I will certainly be getting 5 factorial divided by 4 factorial multiplied by 3 factorial divided by 2 factorial. I know I'm doing it with method. You can straight away solve this question. I'm explaining it in detail. And in the denominator, it will be 11 factorial divided by 9 factorial and 2 factorial. So upon cancellation, it leaves me 5 into 3 in the numerator, and even in the denominator 9 factorial cancels 9 factorial, so we are left with only 11 multiplied by 10, and this 2 goes in the numerator. So 5 and 2 gets cancelled with 10, and therefore the value comes out as 3 by 11. That's option number D as the answer. Let's look at one more question from Quant. A man buys a land and gives for it 20 times the annual rent. Find the rate of interest he gets for this money, for his money. So this is a little language twisted question. So it tells us, suppose the rent of the land is 100 rupees per annum. So he gives the land as 20 times the annual rent. That means he sold the land at 20 times the annual rent. And now the question is, find the rate of person he gets for his money. So rate of interest, that means annually he will be getting only 100 rupees of rent. So rate of interest will be 100 rupees that he will be getting out of 2000 rupees every year, and since we are looking for percentage, we have to multiply it with 100. So upon cancellation, I am left with 10 upon 2, and that is he is getting a 5% return per year on the amount he has invested, and therefore my answer is E. So a little twisted but still a easy question. So far you must have understood that quant is a easy section in Accenture recruitment paper. Now let's look at some of the segments of reasoning as well. Now in reasoning, I already told you that there are two things which are majorly asked. One is data interpretation, for which we have already done one video earlier. You must go through my videos of data interpretation, wherein we'll be talking about various techniques to solve the question. And then the other segments are data sufficiency and puzzles. So let us look at some of the questions from puzzles or the arrangement process, and some questions of data sufficiency along with the other logical reasoning questions. So my first question over here is, 8 people A, B, C, D, E, F, G and H are sitting around a circular table facing the center, not necessarily in the same order. So by reading this line, I can say that it's a question of sitting arrangement. So there are 8 people sitting around a circular table. The next line says 3 people. I would just note down this information somewhere. So there are 8 people all facing the center. That's one good thing. Facing the center. The next line says there are 3 people sitting between A and D. That means in between A and D there are 3 people. I can also take it this way, D and then 3 people and then A. Next line says B is sitting second to the right of A. So next statement says B is sitting second to the right of A. So wherever A is, B is second to the right. My next statement says C is to the immediate right of F. So C is to the immediate right of F. So FC will be the combination. Then it's given that D is not an immediate neighbor of either F or E. We'll use it later on. And also given that H is not an immediate neighbor of B. Now let's form the arrangement and then we'll see what kind of questions we have. So since there are 8 people around the circular table, let me draw a circular table with 8 possibilities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now because everyone is focusing the center, so we are not worried about that segment at the moment. It's given that A and D have 3 people in between. So let me put A somewhere. If A is here and D should be 3 places away, so D is here. Now if you look at this arrangement, D has actually come exactly opposite to A, which is a wonderful trick or wonderful statement given here, because my question becomes a lot easier when it says A is 3 places away from D, because now out of these two possibilities, even if I go ahead with one, it will make no difference because both of them will be having 3 people on either side. Now the next statement says B is sitting second to the right of A. Now if A is here, second right will be on the other side, that is B would be here. So the position for B is fixed. Also it's given that C is to the immediate right of F. Now I have no clue where C and F can come, but one thing is sure, they need two consecutive places. And that's only possible on this side, because on the other side I have only this place and this place, so I don't have two consecutive places. And it's given that C is on the right side of F. So what is the possibility? C may come here and F can come here, or C may come here and F can come here. So these are the possibilities. Let's read the next line. D is not an immediate neighbor of either F or E. So D should not have F or E as the neighbor. That means this F cannot come here. So hence C cannot come here. So the possible position of C and F is now confirmed. We know that C can only come here, F can only come here. Also D says D cannot be a neighbor of E. So E cannot come at this place or at this place. E can only come here. And it's given that H is not an immediate neighbor of B. So H cannot come over here. So the only position left for H is this. And then we have G, who is the remaining person over here. Now since we have formed the arrangement, I would still recommend everyone to go through the arrangement once again for a cross-check purpose. So let's do it quickly. 3 people are sitting between A and D. So A is here and there are 3 people and D is here. Quite okay. B is sitting second to the right of A. B is second to the right of A. That's again good. C is to the immediate right of F. So C is to the immediate right of F. That's still okay. D is not an immediate neighbor of either F or E. So D does not have F or E as the neighbor. It has H or G. H is not an immediate neighbor of B because H is here and B is here. So that means my arrangement is 100% correct, and whatever questions I'll solve now will be quite correct. So let's take first question. What is E's position with respect to G? What is E's position with respect to G? E is to the second left of G. E is second to the left of G, and that's my answer number D. So that's my first question. Let's take the second one. 4 of the following 5 are alike in a certain way based on their sitting positions in the above arrangement and so form a group. Which one does not belong? Let's see. So the first option is GE. This is G and this is E. Second is DC. Now D and C. So D is here and C is here. Third one is AF. A is here, F is here. AB. A is here, B is here. And the next one is CE. So what I observed is every pair has one person in between them. except for D and C, because D is here and C is here having two people in between. So this is my odd one out. That's my answer. Next question on the same. Who is sitting third to the right of the one who is sitting to the immediate right of H? Immediate right of H is F. So this is one person. Now, with reference to him, who is third to the right? For F, who is the third right? C, A, and E. So E becomes the third right for F, who is on the immediate right of H. So my answer becomes option number C, that's E. So once we frame the arrangement, everything is so easy. Let's look at the next question. Which of the following is true regarding the given arrangement? Let's check for it. E is second to the left of H. E is second to the left of C. No, E is second to the right of C. So that's not correct. B is an immediate neighbor of G. Yes, B is an immediate neighbor of G. But still, let's check the other ones as well. H is an immediate neighbor of A. H is over here, A is here. That's not true. D is not an immediate neighbor of H. D is not an immediate neighbor of H, but they are the immediate neighbors. That means the only correct option here is option number B, and that's how we solve a question based on sitting arrangement in the segment of logical reasoning in Accenture Drive. Let's take some more variety of questions. Now these questions, you should understand, have been pulled from the actual Accenture drives. So you may have a possibility of getting these questions as it is, or may be getting similar kind of questions in the drives. So let's look at this question. By reading this question or by looking at this question itself, you understand that this is a question from Syllogism. So there are a couple of statements given, there are a couple of conclusions given. By looking at the statements, we will check whether the conclusions are correct or not. Let's go for it. So my first statement is some forms are cards. So when I draw a diagram, this is forms. Some of them are cards. So this is how I draw my basic diagram. The second statement says some forms are papers. So some forms are papers. I can draw it like this, but I can also have something over here. That's papers. Now, in case you do not have much idea about the syllogism, you should be going through my other videos of syllogism as well. Now let's check for the conclusions. At least some cards are forms. At least some of the cards are forms. Definitely true, because in the statement it's given that some of the forms are cards. That means first conclusion is correct. Let's look for the second one. At least some cards are papers. Some cards are papers based on this diagram is correct. But how about this diagram? It's not correct. And a conclusion is only true when it is true on all the diagrams. Therefore, my first conclusion is only true. Now, according to the directions, it says give answer 1 if only conclusion 1 follows. So therefore, my answer is 1. That's option number A. So such a easy question if you know the concept of syllogism and Venn diagrams. Let's take another question. Another question of the similar category, Venn diagrams and syllogism. So again, we will be having couple of statements and couple of conclusions to check with. So my first statement says all animals are predators. So my first diagram comes like this. All animals are predators. Second statement says all predators are tigers. So all predators are tigers. Another easy question. Now let's check for the conclusions. All tigers are definitely predators. Now you see all tigers, which is the outermost ring, are definitely predators. Is that true? Definitely not, because there may be some tigers which are outside. Next conclusion, all animals are tigers. Now since animals is inside the tigers, so this becomes definitely true. So that means the second conclusion is correct, and according to the direction, my answer should be point number 2 if second conclusion follows. Thus answer to this question becomes B. Let's take one more question. Now we will be talking about one more such question because that's the more prominent area in the Accenture drive. But now here we will be changing the question to the data segment, and that is we will be checking about the sufficiency also. So let's see. Again, a statement is given, but this time there's comparison in terms of equalities and the inequalities. So my first conclusion here will be n is greater than r. Now look at this statement which says n is greater than equal to o is greater than equal to p is equal to q, and q is greater than r. So to tell you that n is greater than r, let's compare them. Now since n is greater than p, that means n is also greater than q. So if n is greater than q and q is greater than r, so I can definitely conclude that n is greater than r. So my first conclusion follows. How about the second one? Definitely if n is greater than r cannot be equal to n, and thus only first conclusion follows, that is my option number A becomes the answer. So equalities and inequalities again play an important role, and we'll be seeing some more questions because in Accenture we have seen such variety of questions coming regularly. So here's another question in front of you on the basis of equalities and inequalities. Let's see. So now there are two things here. W is less than equal to X, which is less than Y, and which is equal to Z. Also, it's given that Z is greater than A. So please put them accordingly. And it's given that W is smaller than B. So these are the three statements I would say are given. Now we have to judge which of them is a correct conclusion. So the first one says B is greater than Z. B is here and Z is here. And to be honest, we do not know how to compare between B and Z. So we can't even compare them. So therefore first one is incorrect. The second one, W is smaller than A. Once again, I do not know any direct or indirect way in which I can compare W and A, and therefore even this cannot be my conclusion. So when both of them are not true, I would say the answer should be 4, which says neither of them is true. So answer is D, and that's how it is. So these are the types of questions that we will be usually getting in the online exam segment of Accenture. I'm sure if you'll go through this video thoroughly, you will get an insight of how the paper would look like. In some more videos, I'll try to put in the questions from the HR and from the technical interviews, and I'll also try it and put the verbal segment of the online exam. So you can subscribe to our channel, that is Swanit Education, and click on the bell icon so that whenever the new videos are posted, you will get the update from it. Thank you everyone.